a lot because it's about two people who I like. I've always liked Dan Ventrelle. I have never been as friendly with him as with Mark Bedane, just because of the way our paths cross. But I remember the one time that Dan and I had this really cool conversation was actually at the Raiders sponsor party here in Las Vegas, CES 2019, and I was he was it was with Dan, and it was with Bank of America's banker, whose name just flew right out of my mind. Uh, Great guy, actually, who put together part of the deal for the Raiders. And his name is going to come to me when I'm not thinking about it. He is a legend in the sports business. Um, but the three of us were talking about the stadium at that point, um, under construction. And I said, I think you would benefit. Hey, how you doing, Jeremy? He said, I think great to see you. I said, I think the stadium would benefit from tax increment financing because you could then capture the growth of the land around the stadium as it was developing. And Dan looked over and said, that's a good idea. And I said, yeah, it's a good idea. We talked about it some more. And, Mark, I think at that point was suspicious of my even being there. And the way I came to be at the place was a buddy of mine who was a tech investor said, Zenny, I got invited to the Raiders sponsor party, and I can't think of anybody I'd rather have there than you. Um, and so, you know, that's how I wound up there. Um, how's the parking? What parking? But and Mark was there, and I remember Mark went by. He didn't say anything, and at that point, Mark was angry that I was being analytical about the stadium because I had said then, and it did come to pass, that the bond issue was such that the revenue percentage collected from hotels like this one was too small for it at 88 one hundredths of 1%. And, all they had to do was adjust it. It wasn't a matter of me, it wasn't a matter of, of, of me putting a monkey wrench in anything. They had plenty of time to adjust the situation. All right. Um, I have a long history with the Raiders because of living in Oakland, and the nature of Oakland is such that, particularly in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, everybody knew everybody else. That's still true to a degree today, but I think the internet has sort of killed some of that. But it is what it is, okay? Barry Lee said, yes, I did see Mark at the draft. In fact, here, Zenny62, there is a YouTube live stream of me at the press conference. I think it's called NFL Draft Live Stream 1 or 2 or something. Yeah. But I have to break that out better, and I will. But yeah, I saw him, and he came up, said hello, was cordial. I didn't ask him for an interview. I should have, but um, I think what was still in my head was when he made a comment, I don't want to talk to you. That was back in, I think, 2017 at the Raiders, at the NFL owners meeting, um, the spring league meeting. And, you know, so words words hurt like that, especially when you're like the only black media person there, and you feel like you're singled out because, you're being constructively critical about a project, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I will say what I'm about to say, and I will start with this. The Raiders have a history of internal employee character assassination. Um, it goes way back, and I dare say that's true for a lot of sports organizations, regardless of whether the NFL, the NBA, um, or Major League Baseball, you name it. You're talking about, the reason is that you're talking about iconic brands that are ran like mom and pops. Um, it is very much like working for a mayor of a big city, and you serve at the pleasure of the mayor. The mayor can hire you and fire you whenever the mayor, chooses to do so. Um, so it's a little like that, and anyone going in should know that. Okay. Having said that, though, people who work in those environments are highly ambitious, and if someone gets in their way or does something they don't like, they will find an avenue to try to. I think I know what was ticking with Mark then, but I'll get to that in a second. But my point is, ambitious people, when they feel like they're stopped by other ambitious people, tend to act out against those ambitious people in ways that hurt them. Okay. And I believe that at the very basis encapsulates what happened between Mark Davis and Dan Ventrelle. Um, and I'll get to that first, and then I'll point out the mistakes. Um, it is Mark is a single man. Uh, when Mark was growing up in Oakland, I knew about him because people would talk about him, but not always in the greatest terms. And I'm not going to go into that aspect of his life. Mark was given a blessing of the Raiders, and basically speaking, to be frank with you, kind of a tool to get back at other people and say, see, I made it. You didn't think I could make it. You didn't think I could do it. You made fun of me, but here I am. And there are people, including people in the media, who made fun of him and should not have made fun of him. There was no reason to make fun of him. And I really felt sorry for Mark through that, because Mark was given a place where he's the only child. I'm an only child. But he was given a lot and didn't have exactly the roadmap to say, okay, this is how you conduct yourself. This is what you do here, here, and here. And by the way, here's this army of people that are going to be behind your side, and by your side and defending you all the time. That didn't happen. And what did happen are situations like a friend of mine told me years ago, when Mark took over after October of 2000, well, October 11th of 2011, when Mr. Davis passed away, rest in peace. And about 3-4 years later, my buddy told me, who's a long-time Raider fan, long-time Politico, who's significant, whose wife worked for the Raiders at one point, and that's a lot of people, so don't try guessing who it is. But told me, Zinni, they're robbing Davis blind behind his back. Okay, that's what I was told repeatedly, and again and again and again. And so what that told me was that you have an organization where people were, by what I was told, I'm not going to name names, getting over on him. And so here now there are in Las Vegas here, and Mark, through Sheldon Adelson and his relationship, and with the work of Mark Bedane, really did something extraordinary. And not just Mark Bedane either. You have to throw in people like then County Commissioner Steve Sisolak, who's now the governor, and the attorney general, the previous governor, who had the greatest vision that created the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committee. All of them, all right? But now they're here, and they come at a time when there has been a changing of guard in leadership in Las Vegas, and in politics and in business. And for a time, and right now, arguably, Mark Davis is among the tops at it. It was Steve Wynn, and listen to what I'm saying. It was Steve Wynn, it was Jeremy Mirren, and some others. But then came a wave of claims regarding sexual harassment that took a number of people down, including most notably Steve Wynn. So now you have the pandemic, you have uncertainty in development, you have a keen interest in bringing sports to Las Vegas, as you can see, and that really shines a light on Mark Davis. Mark bought the Las Vegas Aces, who are doing swimmingly well right now, and he was the toast of the town. Um, Mark is also known as a guy who likes women. And you have to be careful how you conduct yourself in the workplace when you allow when you're out and you allow yourself to be seen as sort of a bon vivant, and maybe you're dating the head of the Westgate Hotel, who's one of Las Vegas' most successful women in business, or not dating, but they're friends, and and or other examples. I was told by a friend who knew, okay, when I asked my friend, why is it that Mark is putting us through the Las Vegas relocation? Why is this? And my friend said, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I'll quote, well, I know he's got a couple of girls there. And I said, you mean to tell me that all of this is going on because he has a couple of girlfriends in Las Vegas? So my point is there's this constellation of relationships, and that's fine. Okay? I mean, it with an asterisk, and it's a gigantic asterisk. The gigantic asterisk is, you have to be careful at work. And if you're going to be in a situation like Mark's, the best situation is to be hands off at work. And I mean that as a deliberate double entendre. You should have a team president, you should have an office manager, you should really even be around, okay? Kevin says, I do see Mark at all the boxing and UFC fights now. Yeah, he's a man about town. And right, good for him, okay? Good for him. So here comes Dan, according to what Dan Ventrelle wrote. And Dan says, hey, he went to him because female employees, not all, or some, I don't know the number, were especially concerned about toxic workplace environment, inappropriate words to that effect. I don't know the details. I haven't seen them written yet. And according to Dan Ventrelle's own words, Mark was dismissive. Well, you know what? Here is where Dan Ventrelle made his mistake. Because we all, as ambitious of people, I made that mistake. In my case, it was accusing then Oakland Mayor Jerry Brown of racism around the Super Bowl. And I wrote an email to my board that, I shouldn't have written, but I did it. Because I felt that Jerry did not respect who I was as the head of the Super Bowl effort. And I was told by a person of the National Football League that he was working behind my back. And so I wasn't blowing the whistle, I was venting. And after the Coliseum JPA meeting that didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, where if the vote hadn't went the way I expected it to go and should have, the NFL would have been able to use the Coliseum grounds for the Super Bowl 2005 for our bid. That was one of a number of key reasons why we didn't win. The other one was the lack of hotels and, of course, the lawsuit. But we were one of 3 finalists. And I got further than Jerry thought I could get. He was shocked. And for me, something else too, I found out from Ignacio de la Fuente, they had meetings with Oakland CEOs behind my back. All right, so I'm an ambitious guy. And I felt like they were trying to cut me under because I'm a black guy that they didn't think, and this is where I embrace Mark's raison d'etre in sorts. They didn't think I belonged, okay? And I proved I belonged. I did it. Mark proved he belonged. He did it. But I think in there, because of that, there's a certain anger that Mark has over how he perceives people as disrespecting him. And I think it may come out in ways where he's trying to be friendly and he's being misunderstood. Again, I'm saying that because I don't know the details. But where Dan Ventrelle went wrong was not by telling Mark, hey, you need to tone it down, whatever it was. Where Dan Ventrelle went wrong was by going to the NFL behind Mark's back. Okay, that was wrong. And Dan, somewhere in his head, forgot that the NFL is not this perfect hierarchical structure that has this person you can go to that manages each owner. The owners manage the NFL. Roger Goodell is the commissioner, sure, but Roger has been able to keep his job, all right, by being able to manage relationships, just like Pete Rozelle did with all these owners, and understand where his power base is in terms of having more owners for him at any one time than against him. Roger has played that role exceptionally well. Roger knows a lot about the league. He knows a lot that's gone right and wrong. He's handled a lot behind the scenes, and he's done it with aplomb. All right? That should have been Dan Ventrelle's model. Roger Goodell. And you would say, okay, Zinni, what? Well, what should Dan have done in that case? Dan should simply have said, hey, look, I've told him, and that's that. Here's what you would say, why stop there? I will tell you why. Because it's one thing for the female employees that allegedly have come forward, they say, I haven't seen their faces, to complain, but they complain to Dan. And what happens is they use Dan as a buffer. So now they can say nothing. All right? Why? Because Dan was fired. So here's Dan's fired. They don't want to lose their jobs. So you think they're going to turn around and speak up like that? Nope. Nope, they're not. So when Lisa Friel, if she comes in, who's the NFL's investigator, if she comes in to do something, is she going to get anything out of them? No, she can't force anybody to talk. And that's where Dan went wrong. Dan went off and became this cowboy about this. I'm not saying his intentions weren't good. They were. But they were good in only one direction. He didn't think about, well, gee, am I really going, he didn't think through the process. Am I really going to achieve what I want to achieve in causing change at the organization? And right now, I'm telling you the way it's lining up, the answer is no. And it's not for the reason of the kangaroo court. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than, it's the very structure of the league. The fact that the owners run the league. The fact that the people basically do serve, not tenured positions, they serve at the pleasure of the owner. Okay? And if you're signing a contract, I'm sure somewhere in that contract, unless the contract is, like a football contract where you have 5 years like John Gruden had or whatever, but that can change too under certain circumstances. You know that and I know that. We've seen that, okay? So Dan should have kept it in-house. If Dan kept it in-house, he would have been better off, because the one thing I don't think Dan did was get any sworn affidavits from anybody that they were going to talk to the NFL, because he blew the whistle. All right? And since that doesn't exist, guess who winds up killing their own career? Dan. And that's what happened. That's what happened. Okay? And so you have Mark basically, and see where Mark made the mistake was Mark had golden opportunity to say these allegations are not true, which really would have laid down the gauntlet for everybody else, because if you wanted to make it to, then you had to talk. All right? And if you talked, given the fact that Mark had gotten rid of Ventrelle, there's a chance he had gotten rid of other people too. But see, Mark didn't do that. And Mark basically opened the door by not denying the report. He didn't deny it. And so that makes both Mike Taylor and Will Kiss, the Raiders PR folks, not look so good, because they should have put some statement in front of him that was more complete than, Mark Davis has terminated Ventrelle. It should have been, if it's true that he didn't do it, Mark Davis denies the allegations. But Mark Davis did not come through and say that. And that's the problem, okay? That's the other problem. Mark Davis did not come through and categorically deny those allegations. So now it's like, hey, okay. So Mark Davis did not do that. All right. Mark Davis did not do that. So where are we now? It has always been clear. I think I saw a headline where Aaron Graney had said of the Review Journal had said that Mark Davis um, had cleared the air. Okay, uh, and and by clearing you cleared out that. Okay, but that's not going to make the problems there go away. What Mark needs to do is make less of himself at the radio organization and have a better structure to run day-to-day operations. He needs to basically, in a sense, wall himself off. All right, and be the ambassador for the team. Be the guy that is reviving women's sports in Las Vegas. Be the guy that does that. Because in today's environment, you can make what you may think is not a mistake interacting with a woman in the workplace, and it is a mistake. And what happens is that people don't talk to you. And that's the other problem here, okay? Mark does not have friends in the organization talking to him. Mark has enemies talking to him. Mark has people who don't like him. When a person likes you, they don't take an action like Dan Ventrelle took. Dan took that for a lot of deep reasons. That basically says, hey, I don't like you, but you're working for the guy. That's bad. And folks, there are a lot of people who work for Mark Davis who present that attitude, either by word or by action. And Mark needs people around him who really like who he is as a person. And therefore, when they give him criticism, it's not from a place of anger, it's from a place of love. It's like, hey man, love you a lot, but you can't be doing X, Y, and Z. All right? If he's doing X, Y, and Z. See, that's the thing. When you start saying harassment in the workplace and stuff, everybody fills that blank with what they think it might mean. All right? We don't know. We don't know what these instances are. They're he said, that's the other thing. These are he said, she says. Okay, there are a number of them, right? All right. This is crazy, probably the highest level of corporate America. Yeah. These are he said, she says. But they come at a time we have had it drilled into our heads to believe women. All right. And you're going to have some people, wow, something about that. I'll deal with that later. But my whole point is you have some people that you're going to have some people who take advantage of other people in that situation. You're going to have some women who don't like a person, and so they will make up something just to get back at that person. Maybe they didn't get the raise they wanted. Maybe they didn't get the position that they wanted. You don't know. Okay, you don't know. But see, now they have their cover. They have Dan Ventrelle. So Dan is gone. They're there. And, fundamentally nothing really changes much. Except that I do think one thing changes. I think Mark, if these allegations are true, Mark knows he's on notice. And again, I believe he needs to wall himself off from the organization just to, stop any further errors from occurring. Errors in judgment, errors in relationships with employees, errors in statements, errors in judgment. And Mark needs to focus on surrounding himself with people who like who he is. And Mark needs to like himself. And, there's nothing wrong with Mark. But I think sometimes Mark is, he's getting better at this, though. I think sometimes Mark used to think, well, gee, I'm not getting the accolades. But I'll tell you where I saw Mark Davis get better. And it was right down here at the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Flamingo, where the NFL had its press conference. And, I live streamed it. And he was sitting down in the audience when they put up the draft day sign. And he should have been from the start up there on the stage. Let's get that out of the way. But he wasn't. But you know what? He didn't care. He seemed to be enjoying everything. And I've seen a time when, like I remember at the sponsor party, Jerry Jones was chortling on, and Jerry was being Jerry. Jerry is big, bold, and brash. And there were a couple of times when I think Mark felt like he had to say something, like to prove that he should be up there. But I will tell you, Mark realizes he doesn't have to be that person. And I have to tell you, that was a really nice thing to see. He's come into his own. But and when you have friends and you're coming into your own, your friends should give you a chance to be better. And Dan Ventrelle didn't do that. Dan Ventrelle took that job, and the first moment he got, he tried to stab Mark in the back. I don't care what anybody says, that's what it looks like. Because Dan didn't have to handle it that way, because none of those female employees were going to get up and start squawking just because Dan ran interference for him and got fired. Forget it. No. Again, I say this, Dan did not think that through at all. And again, the Raiders organization has always had problems of, in a positive way and a negative way, of that sort. Hey, I know of a couple of people who met working for the Raiders and got married. They've been married for a long time now. It happens, okay? So there are positive aspects to having relations in the workplace. The Raiders are a family organization. People take care of each other. They take care of players. The players take care of each other. It is a giant family. The fans are part of it, especially in Oakland. I think it's reforming itself now. It's in Las Vegas, But Mark is the titular head of the organization. And you don't think that you can take out the titular head of the organization in a league where the owners run it. That was Dan's mistake. So Dan is in Las Vegas. He thinks he's going to bounce back. I hope he does. I hope he's made enough relationships to get gainful employment someplace else. But blowing your whistle against your boss the way that he did in the middle of a place where a number of casino people have been outed for that and are probably nervous about it, isn't exactly the right thing to do, okay? You don't go into employment to take somebody out. I don't care if you think that you're being noble about it. I don't think that you're playing good cop or whatever. I will tell you from experience that backfires fast. If you're not aware of the structure, you're gonna get hit by it, and that's what's happened with Ventrelle. Will the NFL look at this? Yeah, they will. But it's not that anything won't come of it because of some kangaroo court that people keep tossing around. And I keep people tossing around these terms and not explaining what they mean. It won't come about because it will only look if one of the female employees talks, different story. That is the sword of Damocles that's hanging over Mark's head right now. Okay? That is the sword of Damocles that's hanging over Mark's head right now. If one coughs it up, then it's an issue. If none cough it up, which I expect, then this will go away. People need jobs. People want to work for the Raiders organization. And you have to remember, the Raiders have a history of basically low paying their employees because they knew you wanted to work for them. That's just not the Raiders. That's a number of organizations in sport. They get by on the iconic aura around the logo. So you think they get by with that? You think that I'm not saying nothing will happen. I'm saying that the way the structure works, I don't expect it to be public. I expect it to be behind the scenes. When the league steps in, I expect it to have mitigating factors, and I don't expect any of us to know about what those are. And, why should we? Drama, soap operas, what's the point? Hurting somebody's feelings or life, what's the point? I will say this, Mark Davis is trying to be a better person. I give him a ton of credit for that. I really do. And I feel sorry for Dan Ventrelle. I think, if you want to be president of an organization, you don't throw your investors under the bus. It doesn't matter what it is. It's your job to steer the ship. If you want to say, hey, look, you want to maybe get Mark to do other things, set up other things for him to do. Say, hey, boss, we need your help here. Boss, we need your help over here. Boss, there's this presentation, we need your help here. Boom, 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 boom. Next thing you know, you created that firewall without it really looking like a firewall, but it behaves like one. Strategy, okay? But see, Dan is a legal bulldog. Everything about Dan says that. He's got the face, he's been bulking up, trying to muscle up, he looks like he's bursting out of his suits and stuff. Tough guy, It only goes so far. And I like Dan. So there you go, folks. There's my thoughts. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark Oakland News Now.